Welcome. This is the homework solution for week 7's homework. We have here Tuesday for September 18. Okay. So all these instructions just ask us to solve for the equation. Right? These are all multiple step equations. My first one, 3w plus 7 is equal to 19. We always write the equation as the first step. So for here, we want to always get rid of the outside stuff first. So we have 3w plus 7. The outside stuff is the plus 7. Right? To do that, I subtract 7 to both sides. Okay. In that process, I make 0. Right? 7 minus 7 gets me 0. On my right hand side, 19 subtract 7 gets me my 12. Remember, it always produces that identity element here of 0. Next, simplify, right? The 0 is nothing, so that's just 3w equals to 12. Now, it's attached via multiplication, right? 3 times w here. So, I divide 3 to both sides. 3 over 3 just becomes 1, right? 3 over 3 just becomes 1. Any number over itself is just 1. Okay? 12 divided by 3 equals to 4. Do you see how it produces 1 here? Right hand side produces 4. Simplify, right? Just to be w equals to 4. Number 4, 2g minus 13 equals to 3. That's writing down the equation. Add 13 to both sides because, again, that is the most outward thing that I'm trying to get rid of first. Okay, in that process, negative 13 plus 13 is 0. 3 plus 13 is 16. Okay, left hand side, right hand side. Okay, bring down the 2g as normal. That can be simplified as to just 2g equals to 16 because, again, plus 0, that means nothing. Okay, next, 2 is attached via the g, via multiplication, 2 times g. So to get rid of that 2, I divide by 2 to both sides. In that process of dividing by 2 to both sides, 2 over 2 gets me that value of 1, which is the identity element. 16 divided by 2 gets you 8 here. So, again, 1 in front, we don't really write that. That just becomes g equals to 8. 5, 11 equals to 12 minus q. First step is always to write down the equation. What is the most outward thing? It's this 12 we have to deal with. So, subtract 12 to both sides. In that process of subtracting 12 to both sides, I get that identity element of 0. 12 minus 12 gets me 0. On my left hand side, 11 minus 12 gets me negative 1. It's negative 1 because it's negative 12 here. Right? So, simplify. Remember, that 0, we don't really write that 0. It's nothing. So that just becomes negative q. Remember, there is still something attached to this q here, which is a negative. Really, it's a negative 1. So, to get rid of that negative 1, you have to divide by negative 1 to both sides. Negative 1 over negative 1 just becomes 1. On my right hand side, right, that also just becomes 1. So q is equal to 1. Okay. 6. 10 equals to 7 minus m. You write down the equation as the first step. Subtract 7 to both sides because that is the outwardmost thing first. So subtract 7 to both sides. Left hand side, 10 minus 7 is 3. 7 minus 7 gets me 0. Okay, what I'm left with on my right hand side is just negative m. You see how it's just a negative m? Left hand side is just 3 because 10 subtract 7 is 3. In that process, because remember there's a negative still attached to the m, so what are you going to do? You're going to divide by negative 1. Divide by negative 1 to both sides. On the left hand side, negative 3 divided by negative 1 is negative 3. My right hand side, I get a 1m. Okay, because remember there's a 1 out in front here. Right? We don't really write that 1, so it just becomes m is equal to negative 3. Okay? Good. Let's look at 7 now. 5 is equal to z over negative 4 minus 3. Write down the equation as the first step. Again, you want to deal with the most outward thing, which is going to be that negative 3. The inverse of negative 3 is to add 3 to both sides. In that process of adding 3 to both sides, you get 0 here, which is on the right hand side. Negative 3 plus 3 is 0. On my right hand side, 5 plus 3 is equal to 8. Come straight down, nothing disappears. That 0 here right, represents nothingness, so we can just not write it. Okay, it's still there, it's just we don't write it anymore because it's plus 0. So now you want to deal with this divide by -4. What's the inverse of negative? What is the inverse of divide by -4? Multiply by -4, right? Multiply by 4 to both sides. So what are you left with on the left hand side? 8 times -4 is -32. On my right hand side, -4 times -4 is, sorry, -4 divided by -4 just gets you the 1. Remember, when the top of the fraction is equal to the bottom of the fraction, that just gets you 1, right? That's what happens when you do the inverse. So again, z is equal to -32. Let's look at 8. 8 divided by 3 plus 4 equals to 6. Write down the equation as the first step. The outwardmost thing here is this plus 4 that we have to deal with, so we're going to subtract 4 to both sides. In the process of adding 4 to both sides, I have a 0 on the left hand side. Okay, 4 minus 4 gets me that 0, which is the identity element. On my right hand side, 6 subtract 4 is 2. So plus 0, that means nothing, so I can just write it as a over 3 is equal to 2. We still have a divided by 3. How do I get rid of a divide by 3? I multiply by 3 to both sides. In the process of multiplying by 3 to both sides, I get a 1/8 left on the left hand side because 3 over 3 just becomes 1. On my right hand side, 2 times 3 is 6. Again, the 1 out in front of the a, we can, right, it's still there, but we don't really write it, so we can just say a is equal to 6. Next, we have 9. 6h plus 6 divided by 5 equals to 2. Again, you want to get rid of the most outward thing, the outwardmost thing of the h is the 5. Okay? How do you get rid of the divide by 5? You multiply by 5 to both sides. In that process of multiplying by 5 to both sides, you have 6 plus h, which is the top value, right? On my right hand side just becomes 10. 2 times 5 is just 10. Right? Good. So, how do I get rid of the plus 6? You subtract 6 to both sides. In the process, you create that identity element. 6 minus 6 gets me that 0 on my right hand side. 10 subtract 6 gets you that 4. Altogether, I have h is equal to 4. That's what I have left. Next, we have 10. d minus 8 is equal to -2 equals to 12. How to get rid of the outwardmost thing is the divide by 12. How do I get rid of the divide by 12? Multiply by -2, right? Multiply by -2 to both sides. On my left hand side, I am left with as just the top, which is d minus 8. On my right hand side, 12 times -2 is -24. Okay, now again, what is attached to the variable d, right, is the subtract 8. So we have to add 8 to both sides. In that process, you have d plus 0, because -8 plus 8 is equal to 0. On my right hand side, it is -16 because -24 plus 8 is equal to -16. On my right hand side, I get d equals to -16 because again, this is plus 0, right? We don't really write the plus 0. Okay? There you go. D equals to -16. Alright, let's look at 11 now. 8y plus 3y equals to 44. We have two variables here, a y and a y. So what are we going to do? We're going to combine the like terms. 8y plus 3y is 11y. Again, what is attached to the variable here? 11. So how do I get rid of it? I divide by 11 to both sides. In the process of dividing 11 to both sides, on my left hand side, I get a 1. On my right hand side, 44 divided by 11 is just 4. Again, that 1 out in front of the y, we can just write that as y equals to 4. Next, 12. We have 36 equals to 13n minus 4. You write down the equation. Next, you want to combine the like terms. 13n minus 4n becomes 9n. What is attached to the variable right now is a multiply by 9. So what we're going to do is divide by 9 to both sides. In that process of dividing by 9 to both sides, 36 divided by 9 equals to 4. On my right hand side, I just get a 1n. 9 over 9 is just 1. Again, we can write that as just n is equal to 4. Let's go to 13. 12v plus 10v plus 14 equals to 80. Again, we always want to combine the like terms as the first step. So 12v plus 10v is 22v. That's just combining the like terms. Then what is attached is this plus 14, so I'm going to subtract 14 to both sides. In that process, I get 0, which is the identity element. On the right hand side, 80 subtract 14, which is 66. Right? I don't really write the plus 0. What I'm left with on my left hand side is the 22v. What is attached to the v right now is a 22 times. So what is the inverse of multiply by 22? It's divide by 22. You divide 22 to both sides. On the right hand side, 66 divided 22 gets you 33. On my left hand side, 22 divided by 22 just gets you that 1. So your answer would be v equals to 33. 14. 6c minus 8 minus 2c. Right, write down the equation. Combine the like terms. 6c minus 2c gets me 4c. Nothing else happens, so I bring down the negative 8, bring down the negative 16. Alright, what is attached to the 4c is a minus 8, so I'm going to add 8 to both sides. In that process, I get the identity element of 0. So it becomes 4c equals to negative 8. What is attached to the c here is the multiply by 4, so I'm going to divide by 4 to both sides. In that process of dividing 4 to both sides, I get 1, which is the identity element. On my right hand side, negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2, which simplifies to just c equals to negative 2. There you go. Those are all the homework solutions.